for today's discussion on emptying my cup. And we started the discussion last week, but it was a full topic, so we need more time to reflect on it, think about it together so that we can actually go about emptying our cup. So before we begin, just taking a few moments to gather ourselves, to bring ourselves to the present, which is so easily done by our breath. So just focusing on our breaths for a few breaths, all the way in, all the way out, we stay with our breath so that we can just feel more centered and more in the present. How difficult it is for us to even stay with the breath for a few moments. We all know that. The moment we tell our minds to do something, now there are so many distractions, there are so many thoughts, there are so many things that need to be done that come and keep sprouting about that it's both frustrating and interesting and funny. So it's good to see that again and again, so that at least we know, where we are and how much letting go needs to happen. So yeah, thank you, Jagan. It's nice to see people when so if people are comfortable, I would request them to switch their cameras on. Thank you, Salakshana ji.
Just hear me coughing, and so that's why I'm
Yeah,
better
yeah.
if I stay switched off.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Please take care. Yeah, I know you haven't been well for a long time. Okay. So as we were discussing that, not discussing, but generally, I mean, the topic for the week is emptying my cup. So as we were discussing last time, we were reflecting on what it means to empty my cup. What is my cup? Yes, Vasu, thank you. So before we move on into further reflections, if we can just start with the basic, and we did that last time too a little bit, but I'm again inviting reflections after last week's discussion. Maybe we got more time to reflect on it. What does it mean to me, empty my cup? What is my cup full of? What is my cup and what does it need to be empty of? What is the importance? Why did the topic attract me? Anything that I would want to share on this, that would be wonderful. If we can just take, unmute for 1 minute or so and just share whatever is coming to us. Hi, Snehi, welcome. Okay. Like when we were just 2 minutes back when we were trying to focus on our breath, and I was just sharing from personal reflections that there are so many thoughts that are trying to enter from so many different directions. If we actually look at our thoughts that visit us, if we were to record what we think about on a day-to-day basis, on moment to moment, we will see there's so much repetition of the same thing. Some particular things about the past most of the time. If something had happened, our mind kind of replays that I should have done this, I should have done that, next time I'll do this. As if there is no war, and yet the preparation is going on for the war all the time. And if one is preparing for the war, there is no ease, right? And then I wonder there is no ease, why there is no ease. But I don't see that I am all the time preparing, thinking, planning for something which isn't there really. Past is gone. The future, we don't know what it will bring, or if it is there, we don't know. The present, obviously, we all know is the only thing there is. And yet, how much do we stay in the present? And this emptying the cup, I think just, for me, emptying the cup is so that I can be fully in the present. It can be to know that I am not in the present because I'm so full of the things that shaped me, the traumas that happened, the tragedies that probably might have stuck, the challenges I had to face, which were, hard. And yet I transcended them, but they don't leave me. And that's sad, right? Because of what has happened, I'm not able to live light. I'm not able to live free. And how we were just, recapping from last time, how we were discussing that from that Zen story, that if the cup is already full, and if somebody keeps pouring in it, there's nothing new that would go in. It would just keep pouring out of the cup. But if somebody tells me that empty your cup, I would be like, come, my cup is bottomless and, I can take whatever I want to. What are you talking about? I'm already empty. But if I'm a bit honest, if I'm sincere, if I actually look, I'm so full of notions, preconceived notions, stories. This happened to me. This has to happen this way. If especially in India, when we would go for walks and all, if you ever pass a group, say if there's a group of, say, young daughter-in-laws, if there's a group of mother-in-law, for example, in gardens, they are sitting on benches. Same conversations are mostly happening every day. The mother-in-laws are talking about, how, I don't know, incapable the daughter-in-laws are, and how when they were daughter-in-laws, everything was so good. And the daughter-in-laws would be like, just how frustrating it is to be mother-in-law. It's not new, is what I want to say, that almost everybody is doing the same thing. And of course, with different locations, different cultures, the problems change. And yet everybody is in the same problem, in the same mud. Why is that? All this collective conditioning that we are full of, that ये तो ऐसे ही होता है, this has to happen this way, does not let me live the way I can live. Do I see that? Do I see that if I live from the point that, okay, I am the one to which that happened, then I cannot be the one who is free and can do anything in the present moment? Do I see I'm making that choice when I'm feeling the victim, for example? And why is it, that I feel stuck? I feel life is monotonous. I feel things are not happening, shaping up. If no matter where I go, I am just full of the things that I think are my truth. If I already think that I know everything, for example, and if I hear something, I say, oh, for somebody else, that might be the truth. But for me, I know, what works for me. Then how do I expect the new to ever happen around me? Yeah, so I'm all just blah, blah, blah. So reminding us that this is a sharing circle. So if we could just, personally reflect or say anything about anything right now, please feel free to unmute anytime and share. Thank you. Yeah, Vasu, you can just unmute and talk. You don't have to raise your hand. Thank you so much.
Hi, Taruna. First off, I'm so glad to be a part of this group. So thank you for this. This couldn't have come actually at a better time. It's such a challenge, like you mentioned, that, when you sit and you just want to concentrate on your breath and your thoughts go haywire. So I try to do Vipassana, and I know that it's so difficult because that's the moment when everything comes flooding, and like it's a challenge to not judge those thoughts and to not sit with them, but to just sort of acknowledge and let them go. So I love what you're saying about, I've heard so much about filling your cup. I haven't heard about emptying your cup. So I was so intrigued when I saw this emptying your cup. And I loved what you said that, until you don't empty it of all these kind of thoughts, or maybe, let's say, negativity, for lack of a better word, then you cannot fill it with something positive and be in the present. Like you always either in the past or in the future, right? That's where generally my mind would go. So I think I'm really practicing to be in the present. So that's what I want to share.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Because, it's only in the present that we are factually, where we need to be, and we can see what's really happening. At times when I'm just like, if I get like 5 minutes, 10 minutes in a day, and I'm just sitting, maybe focusing on my breath. So it's like sometimes I just have to ask a question. Like I just ask myself, like, I'm all like kind of sitting and I'm like, where are you? Because, the body is here, but where are you? And suddenly I didn't, and then I come back. And then again in 2 minutes, I would be lost again and again. I'll throw that question that, the body is here, but where is the mind? Where are you? So it really helps me in kind of coming back. And any practice, of course, like that works for us is really good, because then at least we are living in the now, right? We are living with what it is, even if it's not something that we want. At least we know what we have right now, so that if needed, I can drop it, I can change it, I can maybe enhance it. So, yeah. Yeah, Snehi, I will be calling upon you if you have the capacity to share. So I know you resonated with the topic, and anything, you were there last time too. So would you have the capacity to unmute and share a bit about the resonance and what does emptying the cup mean to you? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
So one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is that I grew up fantasizing about fame. Like I really wanted to become famous. And now I am at a point in life where I'm questioning a lot of those aspirations that I had. right? And why do I want to become famous, and what is it that I'm attracted to? Um, and not just because I have evolved as a person, but also because life had other plans for me. And like you said, that um, there is so much restlessness because we're always planning, and we think that we know what is good for us and what should happen for us, right? So I've always been a compulsive planner. Like, I have to plan ahead and keep planning. Everything has to be scheduled, and it's very hard for me to let go. And I am at a point where I have to give life a chance. You know, I'm finding it hard to step back and improvise with what's coming my way. So emptying my cup is an important topic because I'm realizing how important it is for me to let go of all these plans and preconceived ideas about what is good for me and not good for me. And it's very hard. Like there's a lot of restlessness, and something that I deal with every single day. I need to know what's going to happen tomorrow, one day after, and just taking it one day at a time and one moment at a time is challenging. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Snehi, for sharing. You said something really important, which a lot of us miss in our day to day. In big picture, we remember, but when it comes to my everyday, that I'm so busy planning and I have so many set images of what life must look like, or what that person must look like, that relation must look like, my house must look like, the way my child must behave, that I don't even acknowledge or appreciate or give life a chance to just be fresh. Right? Like my pictures have to match the pictures on, the Facebook, for example. And in that, there is no originality, right? And that is why so many of us are always just looking the same, right? The pictures now also, even, I don't know, somebody was sharing, I don't know who, that why is that all the celebrities, when they're getting married, they all are looking like same, right? Like it's as if a repetition that is going on. Why is that? When we are all unique, when we are all different, when we are all gifted in our own ways. Why do I want to fit in when I am made to stand out? And then I cry that, life not making sense. It's too painful. Just this realization that till I am always looking for certain things, that this is what I want, this is what I want, and I don't have that, I would not be able to be open to what is. And those images that I'm seeing, they don't come from within me, that, God came into my dream and said, this is what you have to become. No, those are just collective conditioning images that I've got from here and there. Famous, what you shared was so beautiful. Yes, I want to be famous. I want to be famous. But why do I want to be famous? What does it bring me? And with fame, a lot of things come together, right? Am I ready for that? Do I want to devote my life to that? And if yes, one must proceed, but this questioning is beautiful because then you're not caught in surprise. A lot of times we want things, but we are just looking at one side of the coin. That I want heads. But whenever I pick up the coin, the tails come with the head, right? I marry somebody, I make friends for certain qualities. But all qualities have associated qualities with them. Like a person who's really calm and composed, there is a very high chance they would also be laid back and a bit lazy, you know. I love the calmness, but I don't want the laziness. So, I mean, we are all moving towards perfection, but just knowing, just being, you know, what am I picking up? And with everything comes the other side. And if I've already reflected that, yes, I'm okay, then it's a more conscious choice. And then later on, I won't be like, oh, what did I do? There's some, I don't know if a lot of us might already know, there's a person called Dr. Basu. He's in Pondicherry. He's the founding fathers of Namaha, the magazine. And, you know, I was attending one conference, he's a psychiatrist, and he was sharing, I might have shared this before, that, you know, when we were, say, cavemen or living in the forests and all, so, okay, I'm living in a forest, I realize, you know, a lion is about to attack me. Suddenly, the response, you know, that flight or fright kicks in, and my heart is racing, and I'm, you know, running from the lion. I climb a tree, and I'm able to save myself. And then my body is back to the restful state. Like I'm at rest, the threat comes, I start moving here and there. And then when the threat is taken off, I'm again at rest. So my body, my being relaxes. But he said that in today's day and age, in our times, it's like that, first of all, there is no real threat, right? But I'm so used to taking things as stresses and threats. All the little threats, stresses of my life they act like threats. That if this doesn't happen, that would be. If this doesn't happen. So he said it's like the body never gets the time to relax anymore. It's always in that constant struggle to be something, be somewhere. We said that is why we feel, you know, kind of burnt out. And honestly, if we sit with ourselves, you know, behind those cover pages, we are tired because we don't get time for that stillness. We are just misinterpreting things as threats while they are just things happening which don't mean much. So thank you for sharing about, you know, not being able to rest and always wanting to plan, because we see that doesn't serve me much. Obviously, having an aim, a goal, and certain amount of planning is good, but if it's done with joy, with the laughter that, you know, I am planning, but who knows, you know, God always has other plans, or life always has its own mind, and yet I am planning, but holding it in lightness, right? Like not making everything a do and die thing, because nothing is a do and die situation really. It could be perceived as one, but yet when we look at those do and die situations, when we look back, we can laugh a lot of time that it was nothing. The learning from what we have already touched, the spaces, the places we have been, let's not forget what they teach us so that we can do better. We don't have to pick up everything.
Good morning, ma'am. You know, when Snehi was sharing her thing about how she wanted to be famous and then she started questioning it, um, for me, if I look at myself, growing up, I had I had so many people, advising so many different things, and those things were coming because they care about me. But whether to take it, whether to fill my cup with those opinions or not was my choice. And I took that choice of, filling my cup with all those things. And there were also some, there were also some things that were bad. and I still accepted that those bad things and put it in myself. And then I then I kind of built this imaginary character, growing up, who wants to be rich, who wants to be, who wants to have everything, who wants to command over people, then have make them, love, and who also always want to take control. And you know growing up slowly and slowly, that was how I looked at myself, that, oh, this guy, he's a big guy, and he's scaring people, and that was what my mind would tell me to become one day. And then when I hit 22 or 23, I started questioning it, like, why? Because at one point, yeah, like, how some of it was achieved, and I was like, why is this necessary? And now I'm almost going to be 30, and I question myself. I think this is the first time that, because of these sessions, I'm questioning. I'm learning to question, actually, that why do I need this? So many things in the last 2 3 months I've planned, and now I don't even need them. Now, you know, like if I were to want this thing and I get it, now I'm asking myself, okay, what next? Will this be the final goal in your life? Like, will you be happy after this? And no, I'm failing to find an answer. Like, yeah, so even I'm also in search of something that will give me, like, eternal happiness, and I'm not finding it in material things, that I can say. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jatin, for sharing.
And
Yes.
even like Jagan just said, that I'm in search of happiness, but material things are not giving that to me. Even uh, even seeking and searching is filling our cup further. If we were to just let life flow, do our assigned bit, which was meant for us. Because I know I've done this. I know I was always seeking, always searching, for spirituality, for the perfect guru, everything. And I was never satisfied. And I realized that it was only when I gave up searching, when I said, let thy will be done, it's okay. Whatever you choose to give me, it'll be fine. I accept. That's the time I found myself at peace. That's the time I realized that maybe this is the way of emptying my cup. Searching and seeking, I was only filling it further. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's really a process and different phases of life, for us. What you said was, I strongly resonate with that. And yet, till I am convinced, like for you, right? You searched and searched and searched, and then you reached a place and you realize that searching in itself is filling it, is complicating it further. Then one stops, right? But if, say, there's a child and he's kind of wanting to go after his toys, and if I sit him down and I tell him, "Arey, kuch nahi milega," he'll be like, दिमाग खराब हो गया आपका, मुझे तो टॉय चाहिए, right? Like, मुझे मिलेगा, मुझे पता है, right? Like, till we ourselves, it's sad that all of us have to go through all these hurdles and phases, but we all in different aspects and times, it keeps changing. Something new comes up that catches his attention, something new comes up. We feel कि नहीं इधर मिल जाएगा, अच्छा वहां नहीं मिला, उसको नहीं मिला, मुझे मिल जाएगा. So we have to all in our life have to go through those things to realize कि अच्छा यहाँ भी नहीं है, surprisingly अच्छा. And then when, we kind of, Kabir ji has spoken a lot about, this fullness and this seeking, and, one of the most famous ones that we have often referred to is Doha, Daurat, Daurat, Daudiya. जहां लगी मन की दौड़ थके मन स्थिर भया तो वस्तु थौर की थौर, कि जहां मेरा मन मुझे, wherever my mind, my desires are taking me, I run, and I must run. And once when I get tired of running after things, I realize that what I wanted was always within. But I have to run first, because otherwise, even if somebody tells me I would not be interested, I'll be like, that doesn't sound very attractive. Let me, we all run after glitter. It's a fact that it's even a small child, 3, 4 months old, 5 months. If he sees something sparkly, and that's why all the toys have, those lights and noises. He wants to grab that. He's not interested in a simple looking plain rattle if he has a choice. And that's how we are. The glitter really attracts us. Yeah. And Jagan, what you shared, how when people advise and they come out of, it's supposed to come out of love, right? It's supposed to come out of, okay, we care about you, that's why we are telling you. But again, as we grow up, we see we are limited beings, right? With limited experiences and preconceived notions. And we honestly feel that the way I lived was a good life, right? Because I didn't live any other way. So we must take things as it appears to us, right? And not appear to them. It's their life. According to them, that's a good journey. According to them, that's the right goal. But if that goal does not appeal to me, for me, that is not the right goal, right? They must be coming out of care and affection. But, it's limited. It's just based on their story. And we all have different stories and beyond the stories, for example. So it's a great point in our lives because, as kids, we don't have the discernment. And one day we realize that, I don't have to believe in all that. Like that's kind of a very aha moment. And sometimes it just is very divided. Some clicks here, clicks there, that I can choose for myself and I can decide whether I like it.
Thank you for sharing that, ma'am. Fortunately, uh, there is this term called breaking point that happens. Um, for some, it takes a while. For some, it happens quick. For me, it took a while, and it took a while. But I'm so glad it took a while. That phase, especially, I have had instances when I was doing something because someone told me to do it, and I was almost in the final stage in the exam center, and I was like, no, ये नहीं चाहिए. I'll just come out of it. And इतना डर लगता था कि ये छोड़ दिया. Oh my God, this is an opportunity. This could have changed my life, the course of my life. ये अच्छा सा ये गवर्नमेंट जॉब था, इंजीनियरिंग जॉब था, my डोमेन था मेरा. लेकिन जब बाहर आ गया और जा रहा हूँ बाइक पे घर, और इतना खुशी हो रहा है मुझे कि मतलब पता नहीं अभी दूसरा जॉब कब मिलेगा, कि मैं तो अभी अभी ग्रेजुएट हुआ हूँ. लेकिन मैं खुश था. Even after moving to Canada, I had an internship, and I hated that job. Like, I hated that subject. But my deadline was coming close, and people were saying, "Oh, Lilo, regardless, it's just for like 4 months, and then you can go in a different." There was a breaking point. There was a breaking point, and 2 hours into the job, I was like, employer say, "I cannot do this. I'm so sorry." I would come out, I would call my mom. I say, "You know what? I left the job. I'm so happy though." And she's like, "Yeah, if you're happy, then I'm happy." And that was the end of it. But yeah, I'm so fortunate that there is a breaking point in my life.
Yeah, thank you, Jagan. And it's really nice that we don't have to wait for breaking points anymore, right? There's a time when we have to wait for breaking point कि बस इससे ज़्यादा नहीं, right? And then something happens. But then when we start getting connected to something within, which we know is guiding us, right? We think of something is presented to us. With some things we feel expanded. With other things we feel, कि नहीं, we feel something in me shrinking up, kind of don't want it. So then we can start listening to that inner voice, that inner direction, and not always wait for the breaking point, because it's exhausting, right? It's exhausting to always do something till you cannot do it anymore. Once we start knowing what you're saying, it's big, right? To even know what I don't want. Because a lot of times, people ask us, what do you want? And the answer is, I don't know, but I do know what I don't want. So जो मुझे पता है, I have to follow that, right? I cannot say that because I don't know what I want, I just follow everything. Then I won't be very happy. Like it will be a harder life. But if I don't know, if I know what I don't want, I can at least not do that. I can be kind to myself and not do that, so that at least maybe that what I want can come to me, right? Can be shown to me. So thank you for sharing again. Yeah, anybody else would want to share a little bit?
I was after the last session. I was thinking more about emptying the cup, and I felt that from my own experience. Of course, I felt that for me, emptying the cup has always been followed with the filling of cup. In the sense that and it was, I think I read something about the mother, where the mother says that, for example, somebody asked her that I really get angry, and what should I do? I don't exactly know, but little bit what she said was that you need to replace the anger with aspiration, or with compassion, because you cannot leave that space empty. So that thing was really resonating with me, because like Snehi was saying that there's this feeling of getting famous or fame, or for me it would be ambition, and that, oh, I want to do this, and and in the between I felt that, okay, I just, it's not good, because in spiritual life ambition is the poison. So I really need to empty my cup, to become an instrument. I really need to empty myself of ambition. But subsequently, after some time, I felt that that space that has been left there without the ambition has been taken over by tamas. So I was actually feeling that, like, I'm actually in tamas, where and it's more dangerous than ambition, because as we know, the rajasic forces are still better than tamasic. So and then I think that was the time when I read this conversation of the mother, and that really resonated with me, and where I thought that, okay, maybe I can empty my cup of ambition, but fill it up with something beautiful, like collaboration. That why is it that I only want to publish my paper? Maybe I can get along with my colleagues and do it together, so that we learn, so that we learn from one another's experience, and come can produce something better from that togetherness, circle of togetherness. And it really worked, and I was so happy with that. And same with that feeling of being loved by by your friends or by your partner, especially if you've had a loss in your life. You always want that big vacuum to be filled now with more love. And of course, as we know, it is so much with disappointment. I think Monica was talking about another this thing, that once the addict is trying to empty their cup or getting rid of the addiction, it is not only that he has to do. Like he has to, maybe take up an art or, walk or something like that. So because it is ideal, I know. I mean, in that, if we are so much ahead in our journey, that empty of the cup will not matter, because aspiration has risen to a level which is always aspiring for that light to dawn into the instrument. But I know that I have not reached there. So every time I do the emptying, the empty space doesn't really help me. It could be individual. It has to be replaced by something beautiful, and it makes my life more beautiful. So I was feeling that that sometimes we really get disappointed that, oh, we are, like in my case it was ambitious, I'm too clingy in relationship, these things. Or maybe I had of a habit of something small, lying here and there, white lies and all. And then instead of just getting rid of it, maybe taking the opposite. So when at the time I'm feeling fear, I call on faith. So emptying my cup of the fear but replacing it with faith. And and it's easier than to just keep conquering and battering with the fear or with the ego. Or that time I think we were also discussing how, like, that it's better to replace the ego consciousness with the psychic rather than keep fighting or keep emptying ourselves ego, because it can't really, it's hard. It's really hard. It won't say it won't happen, but it's hard. So yeah, I was just feeling this for myself. What has worked is emptying and then filling it with something better, and then that better keep evolving, more better, more better. So yeah.
Yes, thank you. We read something actually, because you just referred mother, from the mother at the end of last session, right? Where she was warning us of being, careful of what we are feeling with, because most of the time, it happens that if we are not mindful, we empty something, there's a void. And then we get scared that, oh my God, there's a void, and we just let anything fill it. So then that emptying defies the purpose, right? But what you shared, you try to fill it with something more beautiful, like it's a mindful filling. So till I am not fine with keeping it empty and asking, say, the cosmos or grace to fill it, yes, I must replace it with something more. That is a great thing, because otherwise, if I'm not used to emptiness, but just being careful that I'm not just, especially I think I've heard lot of marriages or relationships happen that way, right? Like, why did you get together? Because you were lonely. He was lonely, she was lonely. And then you, after 2 years, 3 years, you realize that, oh my God, what was I seeing? What was I thinking? So just holding our ground also helps a lot, that I don't want to fill it with just anything. Last time I think we discussed a little bit on this, that, Osho, I think he says that the usefulness of a cup is in its emptiness, right? So, and I was, reflecting on this, that if a cup is holding something, even water, right? Like if I just take a cup and I put water in it and I keep it on the side, after a few days, even the water starts stinking, right? And that is what happens in me when I'm holding beliefs, images, notions. I start thinking there's no freshness about me. I might stop living big because I have to say that no, but ye to aise hi hota hai. And that's what we see in a lot of our relationships. These, limits that keep stopping me from being more. So just being wary of being careful of what I'm filling it. And yes, we must fill it, especially when emptying has started happening. It's a new phenomena. And it could be 10 years, 20 years while I'm experimenting. Okay, not this, not this, not this. It's so much better than just having that cup and saying, I know my life. I know how to do what and what to do. And then when we get tired of that, again, feeling emptying, one is just then one is again just sitting with the empty cup, knowing that let grace fill it with whatever it wants to fill, because whatever I'm doing, I'm using my mind. And because I am limited, my mind is limited, what I'm filling up with is limited. Knowing my smallness and limits, I can just open it up too and be ready to receive. Like if a cup has something, I can't put anything in it, we know that. If it's empty, then I can use it anytime, right? To put anything. I might not know what I want to put in it, but at least it's available. If I see something, I'm ready to receive. That's reminding me, there was this beautiful quote. I'd gone to Auroville by Sri Aurobindo. It was in the Savitri Center, I think. I don't remember the exact thing. It was like that, when you're facing something, that pray that, the love comes, the grace comes, and trust that the divine knows when to give you what you are asking. And meanwhile, clear yourself, empty yourself. I'm just paraphrasing, so that when he finally comes, he doesn't have to stumble on stones and forests to reach you. So it's just, just holding things lightly. Itni strongly hold kara, itna bhaga, itna ye kara, where did I reach? Nowhere. Am I feeling fulfilled? Most likely no. Did the 20 things I indulged in and spent years on, did they bring fulfillment? Most likely not. So why would the 122nd thing will bring me fulfillment? Just still doing them because we are used to. But just putting that little question in really helped me in seeing the thing for what it is a bit more every time. And if we have somebody in our life who we are dedicated towards, like any deity, any god, so it's said that, because you don't know what you're here to do or what is your mission on earth or, your big thing. And if, like Jagan was saying, I don't know what, but I know this is not it. But then the other things that we are doing, if we can just, offer that, okay, I don't know, but this is in front of me, so I'm doing it for you. Say like how a Meera would be doing everything for Krishna. So just that we can also do it with this thing that since I don't know, small things, maybe they are not bringing much contentment, but I have to do something. So I do that in an offering. Yeah. And there was a show. Yes, Jagan.
No, ma'am, you can go ahead.
No, please. I thought you are nobody speaking. Please.
Sure. With regards to filling the cup and emptying the cup, I also find that there is this chain reaction. Like when my cup, let's say my cup is empty to an extent, and I'm hanging out with my friends. So like a couple of days ago, my housemate and I were going to a place, and we were discussing about random stuff. And at one point, he always does this. That he said that तेरा job क्या है? तू तो बस बैठ के मजे करता है. What do you do? Like it's like you're getting paid for free. And मुझे मतलब पहले ना, like earlier I would react to it, and then then he would respond back to it. Then I would react, and then he would respond back, and then end of the conversation, I am full. Like my head actually feels heavy. Like physically, I feel heavy in the head. So I think it's sort of a chain reaction that to react to opinions will only make matters worse if they are not good for me. Um, I had to constrain myself, and I had to just zip it. I had to zip myself, and I just smiled, and I didn't do anything because I was scared that okay, I'd say anything, even I agree to it, or even if I disagree to it, there will be something more coming from that side, and I don't want that. So, uh, while emptying the cup is so important, also being vigilant of what is coming, like vigilant all the time. As long as if I'm awake, I have to be vigilant, and sometimes I am not, and yeah, that's why maybe my cup again goes back to filling a little bit.
Thank you for sharing. That was beautiful that to see that, in my ego defenses, in my trying to prove people wrong, I usually just end up in greater mud, right? Like being involved in conversations that mean nothing. So sometimes just a smile and no response, most of the time, I would want to say all the time, but everybody might not agree. If I can do it, if I choose my peace over my proving, everybody would be so much better off without it. Okay, it was an opinion. He's welcome to think what he wants to think. Sounds good. मुझे बस बैठने के पैसे मिल रहे हैं. How lucky if that's what he feels, right? So all happy. Yeah, thank you. It's a very big shift when that happens, when I don't want to prove anything to anybody anymore. And just my own self is enough.
Yes, ma'am. Not always successful, but sometimes yes. Still in the
Yeah,
process.
absolutely. Yes, Vasu.
I like what Jagan said about, I think it's a very big quality to be able to zip it and not react, because our first go-to is if someone says something, we want to react, not respond, or even take time and decide, like you mentioned, that, you make your peace and walk away. Sometimes I find this challenging because silence is at times taken as weakness. So, while you are wanting to make the peace and you don't want to indulge in that kind of a mud wrestling match, it might give a notion to the other person that they have a ticket to walk all over you. And okay, she's not saying anything, so I can like push it a little bit. They try how much they can push your buttons, right? And yes, then there's a breaking point, as Jagan said, like, you can just take that much nonsense from somebody. It's not that, like, at least sometimes I've noticed that silence for me with certain people, and I would say, I think maybe not the most healthy of people, has not worked. I know that it's like almost like as if you're talking to a wall, like it just doesn't, the message doesn't go through because they might be set in their ideas and they are like, no, they're not opening their mind to listening to the other person. So that's where I find challenging. So can you just throw some light as to what you do in situations like this when you want to keep your peace, yes, but you also don't want to just have that person walk all over you because they are looking at your silence as maybe weakness?
Yeah, anybody would want to reflect on it? Anything? Vasu, for me, actually, firstly, when you started, and of course, it's a very situation-based thing and very person to person, that they would take it as my weakness, right? Firstly, what the other wants to assume in most of the situations is not my issue, right? Like, but this won't be followed when somebody is very, when on a day-to-day level, like you mentioned later on. But one thing is that if somebody believes that I'm weak, that's okay, right? They can believe whatever they want. Second is that one thing is not arguing, but having a strong stand. Like say in Jagan's example, if the person is saying that, तुझे तो ऐसे के ही पैसे मिल रहे हैं or whatever, he could just say that, I don't agree with you, but that's okay. But he can very strongly just say that I don't agree. So there is no passivity that one is talking about, right? It's not about being passive and just saying, "Ki, Arey, haan, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, मैं तो खुश हूँ," और ऊपर से कुछ भी आ रहा है, right? Like when it's time, when the situation demands me to fight, I will shout, I will scream to protect my peace. Because when that person is again and again and again trying to, come into my space or just not minding their own business, I would say, please mind your own business, for example, and that I must do to protect my own sanctity. So I would just say, let's not mistake being empty for being passive or non-violent. Violence is needed at time at lot of levels. Action is needed. Without that, it would just, it's like, I like this example that especially, in India, when you have like, a row of houses and there's an empty house in between, not an empty house, like, just a plot. What do people do? They put trash in it, right? वो कूड़ा फेंक फेंक के उसको कूड़ेदान बना देते हैं. So I am not, the emptiness is not like that empty plot that anybody can come and throw anything. I have to protect the sanctity of it. Say like, there's a cup, how much can it hold? There's a bucket, it can hold much more than a cup and it's limited. There's a pond, it can hold so much more than the bucket and yet it's limited. There's a river. Whatever you put in it, it takes on and it just keeps going. Then there's the ocean, which can even take those rivers inside and nothing matters. So I must stand for what I don't believe is right, knowing that it's, if somebody is saying I'm hopeless, and if I have to tell them, no, I'm not, I don't have to believe them. I don't have to come from the space that, oh, I'm not hopeless. How dare you say I'm hopeless? Knowing I am not hopeless, if I react from there, I don't lose it, right? And I'm not kind of just burning inside. It's like, Jagan, you remember we had discussed that we can be angry we can express anger without being angry. You were very surprised. I remember when we had that conversation, or the same thing, because we react that way because something in us feel threatened, feel accused. But if we just come from the space that this is their opinion, I don't agree with that, I would want to clear that. I don't have to take up the blame, right? Then I don't just lose it. I don't end up saying things I honestly don't mean. Then I can be, and it takes a lot of patience, practice, and that's okay to lose it till you get there. But just because somebody said anything or something does not make it true. So one can just say that, okay, you can believe what you want to believe, but that is not true. That is not what I agree to. So that standing up for oneself, for what one believes in, is as important as sitting when one doesn't want to respond. Everything has a place. Like, even only yesterday we were discussing that, say, Jhansi ki Rani, right? She knew that there's no chance that she'll be able to keep Jhansi, with the whole British Empire against her. But एक जिद थी कि मैं अपनी झांसी किसी को नहीं दूंगी, right? And come what may, I'll die. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Mangal Pandey, right? They didn't just stand there and just say कि हाँ जो मर्जी कर लो, walk all over me. They did that, and yet there was a time when there were so many guns facing them, and yet Mangal Pandey took that shot कि अरे मार के मरूंगा but मर तो जाना ही है, but ये जिंदगी मुझे मंजूर नहीं, right? And so we revere them, अभी भी. I don't know about others, but my kid loves Jhansi Ki Rani and loves the story and stuff, like that is a life that is well lived because they refuse to stand for something which they didn't believe in. So a lot of times peace or spirituality, is taken up to be passive, and that's not right. It's very active. It's very feisty if it has to be, but मैं नहीं जल रहा हूँ. I'm communicating, I'm saying what I have to say, without, and it's very, very tough because I'm used to taking everything on me, right? मुझे कैसे बोल दिया? ऐसे कैसे कर दिया? But if I can just look, because I have to, like I was talking about, that cup, that bucket, that tub, that pond, while I'm communicating, when I'm standing, I also have to look inside. Can I also take this a bit more? Can I see that it's not really personal? I don't have to make it personal, even if the other person is making it personal. So just working on ourselves as well as taking a stand absolutely to protect when I feel something right is not happening. But if I don't come from a space of mujhe, then I just respond better. Then I would not be so, अरे इतना क्यों बोल दिया, अरे ये क्या हो गया, after the fact, when I've had that argument, if I'm able to actually say what I want to without losing. But I must stand whenever standing is needed for the right reasons. Not to protect my ego or just mujhe, but just it is right and it is not wrong. If you still choose to believe in it, good for you. But I don't agree. I'm sorry. So saying those things have a time and a place, and different relationships have different things that one must do. And the breaking point that we were talking about, it's like I'm not then accepting, right? I'm just suppressing. या शख्स ने ये बोल दिया, चल छोड़ यार, कौन मुंह लगे, अरे छोड़ यार, so I'm just suppressing, but I'm not able to just let it be. So this thing comes when I'm not okay with the way things are, when I'm just tolerating. So here we are not talking about tolerating, but we're actually thinking कि मैनू की, he's thinking, let him think. So then I don't hold on, then the things don't get built up, right? If I'm able to be a little bit more breezy, say there's a room and it has a small door. If there's a huge couch that I have to bring in, I might have to break the wall to bring it in, or part of the wall, because it's solid, right? It's heavy, it's thick. It needs a lot of space to come in and out. But if it's air, right? Air doesn't need much space. Even with those jalis, it comes in and out. So I can hold things lightly. अरे बोल भी दिया तो क्या है? Sometimes I also end up saying things which I don't mean. It's okay. Must be having a bad day. So just having that little bit lightness about things and events and words and opinions helps me in just being more light. Yeah, please, anyone, anything.
I was this thing really wondered about this thing, that sometimes not saying, is it passive, or I'm just resigning or something like that. And now somehow I feel that once you say yes to the universe, that you have decided to take this journey, different path that we all talk about, different way of living life. From my experience, I feel the universe makes sure that you will have the circumstances where people will be placed in a way that they become your mirror. So they actually become your mirror, where they're going to point out your faults, this and this and this. And it's of course we never like it. Now I'm not speaking of a normal life. I'm speaking of people who have that aspiration or different aspiration of transforming this life, which is not beautiful, which is not according to the divine will. And I learned it from a friend. She's also on the path, and we were having a discussion. She was having a very bad day, and I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Yeah, I had a very bad argument with my husband today." And she said, "You know what? He told me that I'm very greedy." And that thing really hurt me, because I live so simply. And even I was taken aback that, like I can think that she's impulsive, she's short tempered, but even I would not see her greedy because, she's so simple and I could understand what, the hurt where was coming from. And she said, yeah, I can't really take it. It's really bothering me inside. It's been 2 days now. And I said, I can understand. And she said, look, I live so simply. And she's working in a multinational company, very rich, but still very humble and this. And after 3-4 days, I remember we met again and she was really happy. And, and I said, how are you? How are you feeling? How's the mood? She said, yeah, I'm very good. And she said, in one of my meditations, I actually found out that I am really greedy. And I was taken aback. I said, really? She said, yeah. I said, if when I really sat down to think about it, to really go deep, like dissociating my ego consciousness from it, from that comment, I found out that I do not have too much expectations from anybody in this world, but I have so much expectations from my partner. I want him to be this. I want him to do certain things like this and that. So in that way, I'm greedy, right? And he's right. And he said, the moment I realized it, I felt so much at ease. Like I said, thank God, he said, thanks to the universe that I realized that, that small, but chota, sa कहते हैं ना, that small ball of darkness which was residing into this pretense of, oh, I'm so self-righteous, I'm so humble, but not realizing that, no, I am greedy in that sense. And that was something that really, like I learned so much from that experience that she showed me that, when we are really ascending towards that light, things actually happen to wake us up. Even small comments, the comment, and I think even I think Kabir also says this Nindak Pas Rakhe. There is a doha he says that you should keep people who are, who do the ninda, who point out to you, who are rude to you, who they should be near because also mother, I remember, somebody asked and said to the mother that, somebody said such disgraceful things to me. I'm so hurt, mother. What should I do? Mother just smiled and said, my dear child, it is the ego that gets hurt. The soul never gets hurt. And this thing that like after that, it's still I was also like so many times it does happen, but at least this realization that who is getting hurt. Even Acharya Prashant, I think the videos you have sent, he always talks about that, always recognizing who is it that wants it, who is it that gets hurt, and distinguishing it with a real self that never gets hurt, that is always at ease, it always at peace and compassion. At the same time, what you said, that when it comes to dharma and when it comes to the time to take up uh, the march of history, he can actually become an Arjun because he will not sit down, he will not become a sannyasi and run away from the battlefield, will take up because it is the Krishna who is leading. But that is for the soul, that is for the evolution, and not for our petty this thing ki, why is that somebody this said this. So yeah, just that experience really made me understand that. And sometimes when I have arguments with my partner, or with my friends, sometimes I really try, like Jutsunma also, remember that thing. I said, thank you inside. I'll keep saying, thank you, thank you. I'm getting hurt, really getting hurt. Feel like shouting now, I'm going to shout. And I say, thank you, thank you. And really, after a few days, I'll realize that pearl of wisdom that needs to be taken. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Nandini.
Ma'am, one last thing. When you were talking about the anger and not affecting us, even when we display anger and we still can come back to our actual senses. To me, I find that, at least at this point of my time, of my life, I find that anger is like me walking right next to the person I want to display anger on with a grenade in my hand and unpinning the grenade and just dropping it there. What I don't realize, what my ego doesn't realize is that जब वो ग्रेनेड फूटेगा ना तो वो मुझे भी हर्ट करेगा. So after that my ego leaves me. The moment I display my anger, my ego leaves me. My mind is like totally, it's like I've lost control of my thoughts. I've lost control of my actions. That I need to take care of after this. So I think it takes I don't know, it takes a lot of practice to have that level of control, that I'm shielding myself from my own anger, because I've always seen that my anger has hurt me more than it hurt the other person. And it took me like literally days. Even I think there was one session the week before last week session that I had some issue like that, and it was reflecting in my face when I was in the meeting, and I kept telling myself why, and I couldn't really find an answer. So yeah, I think it will take some practice to shield myself from myself.
Yeah. Shielding oneself from oneself is very important. Good point. Yeah. So there was a small 2 minutes video in case, if anybody wants to leave, they can leave. It's much beyond the time. But since I don't think we'll be taking it next time, there's a small video, 2 to 3 minutes by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese monk, that I'll share. Again, something on emptiness. It was interesting. If you want to visit this one. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to share. Please let me know if you can't hear it. Can you hear it?
But to be empty does not mean to be non-existence. And that is why he said, form is emptiness, but emptiness is form. Emptiness is not nothing. Suppose we look at this glass. It looks empty. But in order for the glass to be empty, it should be there. In order to be either full or empty, the glass should be there. So emptiness does not mean non-existent. This glass is empty of what? It's empty of tea. But it's full of air. Emptiness. Empty is empty of something. And that question may be very helpful. So when we look into this flower, which is described as empty, what do we see in the flower? We see the sunshine inside. We see a cloud inside. And you do not need to be a poet in order to see a cloud floating in the flower. You know that.
Yeah, just wanted to share that basic aspect that one has to be there. And even if the cup is empty of, say, water, it will be empty, full of air. So without even wanting to be full of anything, inherently, we do have something that we always have. And when I heard it, I was also reminded that lot of times we judge, right? Judge based on what is in the cup. So we are actually judging the things in the cup, but we think we are judging the cup. A lot of times people say things to us, like, Nani shared the greed example. That might be something in me, but I am not that. If I become aware of it, I can let go. So both ways, I think it works, that knowing that if I drop what I'm holding, for me and others, I'll actually be able to see what they are full of, full of, I don't know, grace and beauty. But I'm always just focusing on what is so loudly visible that I don't go inside or able to see what is actually there in that it's still air that is there in the cup, and we are all connected, right? We all have that air. So there were more things, but in the interest of time, I think we can end here. If there's any last comment on emptying the cup, there was a small passage. I'll share it in the group for those interested on how our cups are filled with dirty water. I thought that was interesting. So yeah, if there's any last comment, we'll take it. Otherwise, we'll call it a session. Okay. So just taking a last minute to just thank the universe, thank grace for the ability, for the blessing to have, such sessions where we can come, meet, expand our horizons and challenge our thoughts and thinking and limitations. So expressing that gratitude and sharing the merit, if any, how we share the prasad from the temples of anything that was lit in us, made lit for everybody. May all beings be well and happy and in peace. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.